In Berlin, crowds are cheering, hugging, and dancing. Some are crying. It's hard to believe. But what they're celebrating is something many thought would last forever. Freedom. After 28 years, the Berlin Wall has finally fallen. People are crossing the border where once they were shot at if they tried. It seems like the whole world is watching this moment together. But in reality, no one knows what's happening until hours later. Earlier that day, East German officials made a big mistake. They announced new travel rules, saying people could cross the border into West Berlin with special permission. But it turns out, word gets around fast. Soon thousands of people were lining up at the wall, asking border guards for permission to leave. Feeling the pressure, some guards start letting people through. And before long, the wall is full of families, friends, and strangers all embracing. When the news reaches the media, the whole world cheers. And by the end of the night, the Berlin Wall, which has divided East and West Berlin since 1961, is gone. Instead, it happened thanks to a group of quiet heroes who worked in secret for over 30 years. Their leader was Alan Turing, one of the greatest minds of the 20th century. In fact, some say he invented the modern world. But unlike many famous inventors, he wasn't famous during his lifetime. He died believing he'd saved millions, but never knowing the world he'd helped create would bear his name. So here is the story of how Alan Turing and his team of codebreakers broke the Berlin Wall and built the modern world without anyone knowing it. When World War II broke out in 1939, Germany was ready. With its lights flashing and wheels turning, it could generate billions of letter combinations every second, making it arguably the most secure encryption device of its time. By 1941, there were tens of thousands of Enigma machines in use throughout Europe. In 1939, British officials approached Turing, a brilliant mathematician and logician, to see if he could crack the Enigma code. Just 5 years earlier, he shocked the scientific community when he showed that any sufficiently complex system could be turned into a calculating machine, effectively inventing the modern computer. But breaking the Enigma code was a much bigger challenge. If you think about it, it's no wonder it hadn't been done yet. First, the machine itself was heavily guarded, and those who got close to it were sworn to secrecy. Second, even if they did get their hands on it, breaking the code would require so much calculation that it would take years, meaning anyone who tried would have to do the work for free. But Turing took the challenge anyway. He began by recruiting others who shared his passion for puzzles and ciphers. There was Joan Clark, one of Britain's first female code breakers; Gordon Welchman, whose ability to visualize abstract concepts proved invaluable; and Tommy Flowers, who designed the world's first programmable computer. Together with dozens of other mathematicians, engineers, and Polish refugees who had already come close to breaking the code, they formed a top-secret team of codebreakers at Bletchley Park. And while nobody knew it at the time, their work would change the world forever. At first, they struggled, but then Turing had a breakthrough. He realized that Enigma had three main weaknesses. First, the operators sometimes made mistakes, typing a word incorrectly or pressing the wrong button. Second, the Germans sometimes sent incomplete messages, leaving parts of the code unspoken. And third, the Germans changed the settings on their machines every few days, which gave the code breakers a chance to catch up. These weaknesses gave the team a starting point, and soon they were able to crack German naval codes, getting messages from Enigma machines aboard U-boats. But they still needed help. Enter the bomb. It was a machine that tested thousands of settings every second, helping code breakers concentrate on the most likely solutions. When the wheels lined up correctly, an alarm sounded and the code was cracked. Soon, other versions of the bomb were being used to decrypt German Air Force and diplomatic codes. As the war went on, Turing and his team refined their techniques and built better machines. In fact, they built two versions of the bomb, one to test settings and another, called a Victoria, to encrypt messages. But Turing knew this race could go on forever, so he convinced his superiors to use the information they were gathering for one last push. On May 1943, they changed the bomb's settings to the diplomat's new encryption and waited. Within hours, they had a hit. From that day forward, nothing was the same. For the next 6 years, the British government used the bomb to track the German army's every move. According to historians, their work shortened the war by 2 years, possibly saving up to 14 million lives. But as the celebrations began after Germany surrendered in 1945, Turing was nowhere to be seen. In fact, he would die believing he'd been just another cog in a war machine. The truth is, the codebreakers at Bletchley Park weren't supposed to talk about their work. The secrecy meant that although the world was celebrating their victory, they couldn't share in it. But the impact of their work was far greater than they knew. You see, after the war ended, the British government decided to dismantle the bomb and destroy all evidence of the code-breaking effort. But before they could do that, they needed to figure out what to do with all the data they'd gathered. Enter Tommy Flowers again. Although he designed the bomb, Flowers had always dreamed of something more, a machine that could handle large amounts of data quickly and efficiently. It gave scientists and researchers the ability to process vast amounts of data, faster than ever before, paving the way for future inventions like the internet, smartphones, and self-driving cars. And it all happened because of the bomb. Today, Alan Turing is considered one of the founding fathers of computer science. In fact, some say we wouldn't have the internet without him. But it wasn't easy. After the war, he faced persecution for being gay. Eventually, his career was cut short and he died believing he'd wasted his potential. But in 2009, the British government formally apologized for his treatment and granted him a royal pardon. Today, he is honored with statues, schools, and even beaches named after him. And now you know why. So can you imagine a world without computers or the internet? Without Turing? That might have been our reality. What's your favorite invention from the past 100 years?